What's up, guys? Welcome back to the MontyVerse. I just got out of Marvel Studios' Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the latest entry in the MCU, and I'm going to give you my quick initial thoughts in my non-spoiler review, so let's get right into it. Wakanda Forever is, of course, the sequel to Black Panther, and this film has the Herculean task of having to address the tragic real-life passing of lead actor Chadwick Boseman, who played King T'Challa, aka the Black Panther in this franchise. And to the film's credit, it's a band-aid they rip off from the very beginning. And they do it in a way that I think is both respectful to the actor and the character and us fans as well. The characters in the film mourn T'Challa, and I think we as the audience get to mourn and celebrate the life of Chadwick from the very beginning throughout this entire film. And his spirit, his presence is felt throughout the entire runtime of Wakanda Forever. He is a driving force for the film at points, and I really think that they did a great job of handling this very, very tragic real-life passing. All of that being said, I do think this film suffers from the lack of Chadwick Boseman. He brought such a presence and a swagger to this franchise that I don't think any other leading actor had done since probably Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. He brought such a unique presence, is what I'm trying to say. I think a lot of these actors are really great in all the films, but Chadwick was a huge standout for me, starting all the way back in Civil War, and I think his presence in this film is missed. Story-wise, we pick up basically where we left off in the first Black Panther movie. And when I say that, I don't mean chronologically. I mean in the sense, basically thematically. We ended the first Black Panther movie with T'Challa opening the gates of Wakanda to the entire world and essentially peeling back the veil of secrecy and showing all of the resources that Wakanda has to offer the entire world. This movie kind of takes that really positive, bright ending and shows the ramifications of that, because Wakanda has a stockpile of vibranium, and there are a lot of dangerous people in the world who are looking to take vibranium and use it for themselves. And of course, this carries along a lot of storytelling potential for basically invading forces, conquistadors, basically the age of exploration, where people were sending masses and masses of explorers to raid countries and take their natural resources. So there's a lot of heavy issues when it comes to that type of storytelling. And we find out through the course of this film, Wakanda may not be the only place on planet Earth that has vibranium, which leads us to the introduction of Prince Namor and the people of Talocan. See, the one thing the first Black Panther movie did, well, more than one thing, but one of the things I loved so much about that movie was the world building. Wakanda was this beautiful, unique place. There was no other place in cinema history like it, and they did such a great job designing that, all the way down from the movements to the language to the way people dance, the costumes, the colors, the architecture. And that is done again with the capital city of Talocan, Namor, and all of the people of Talocan. It's basically them getting to redo what they did in the first movie and introduce us to this whole new unknown kingdom, this unknown faction in the MCU. And it's such a fantastic job that they did again, giving us a culture that feels rich and full of life and history that have been around for many centuries, and they convey all of that in such a short amount of time. Since we're talking about Talocan and its people, let's talk about Namor himself, Tenoch Huerta, who gets the big old introducing credit in this movie. Wow, does he do such a great job in this role. This Namor is essentially a reworking all the way from top to bottom. This is a brand new MCU interpretation of the character. There's not much that does survive his comic book origin, but I don't think any of that really matters at all, because the way that Tenoch plays the character, it's so perfect. It's so in line with the Namor from the comics. And what's really interesting, and I've been watching a lot of interviews, is to touch on again, like how, you know, colonizers or people from other cultures come in, see a culture, take things from them, and kind of misuse it. In the movie, he pronounces his name Namor, and there's a reasoning behind that, which I don't want to spoil because it is in the movie. But, we hear other people refer to him as Namor, so it can go both ways, but in universe, the correct pronunciation is Namor. So that was really interesting. But again, to talk about Tenoch Huerta's performance, he carries Namor with all of the arrogance and overconfidence, I should say, that I expect to see in this character. We see so many different sides of him, but at the end of the day, he always is the same pompous. He always carries himself on airs, essentially. He always thinks that he has this glorious purpose that he has to fulfill, and his main purpose in life is to protect his people at all costs. That's all Namor is about in this movie. That's all Namor is about in the comics. He makes all of his decisions based off of what is best for his people, not himself, his people. And because of this, his people give him a lot of praise and put a lot on him, which again reflects off of him in a way that is very arrogant, and they portray all of that extremely well in this movie. I think that he is a breakout in this film. I really want to see more of the character. I wanted to see more of him. I think that if anything, even though the film itself was very bloated, I would have taken more Namor 100% because I think he shines in this movie. Now, to take us into Wakanda, let's talk about Angela Bassett as Queen Ramonda, who's returning from the first movie. She is amazing in this film. She portrays the pain of loss, but still the strength and nobility of a queen. And I loved her performance so much because, listen, losing a son is hard. Losing a son twice, essentially, because she lost her husband, then she lost T'Challa in Infinity War after Thanos' snap, and then to lose him again in universe, it's very hard. And she has this knowledge, she has this pain inside of her that she portrays extremely well, but also she's putting on this brave front, and it's such a layered, unique, and powerful performance for the MCU, and I really hope she gets recognized for it, because what she does in this movie is tremendous, and I have to give a huge round of applause. I think she is a very, very talented actress always, but in this film especially, she steals every scene that she's in almost, and I really loved the way she played Queen Ramonda. Now, moving on, we have Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, which, interestingly enough, for how much they stripped away from Namor's comic book origin, they actually kept a lot of the basic stuff from Riri Williams' comic book origin. She's still the same Riri that I know from the comics, except she has a very big personality upgrade from when we were first introduced to the character. She's more in line with the modern day Riri Williams of the comics, and that I really like. She is another scene stealer, like Namor. Every time she's on screen, she plays so well off of the other actors that she's in the scene with, and I think she brings a very unique energy to this film, and a lot of much-needed comedy that this film was in desperate need of multiple times throughout it. Because, listen, this film is, like I said, it's pretty heavy, and it needs moments of levity that I think Dominique does a really good job of adding. So, again, a huge plus for Dominique Thorne. It makes me even more excited for the Ironheart Disney Plus series. I really think that she's going to be a very strong lead, and again, I'm really excited with how they introduced the character, and there's so many layers still to peel back that not only was she perfect in the role she had in this film, but I think that they're saving all of the good stuff for a series, which I'm very, very excited for. Letitia Wright, how do you take over the lead of a franchise from Chadwick Boseman? I don't know if anyone was up to the task, but she portrays Shuri in this film in a way that is very different from the Shuri we saw in Black Panther, and I think it makes sense. I personally loved Letitia Wright's performance in this film because it made me... Listen, I've experienced loss in my life very recently. I've experienced the loss of my mother, my father, and to put myself in Shuri's shoes, I understand a lot of the decisions she makes in this movie, and I'm able to very quickly empathize with the character. So I think Letitia's evolution as Shuri in this film is extremely well done, and it makes a lot of sense, and her journey allows us to tell a lot of story that we may not have been able to tell before, and allows us to incorporate a bunch of new surprises into the film that we will talk about in a spoiler review. But again, this movie is full of strong performances, which of course should come as no surprise because of how stacked this cast is and how strong the performances were in the first movie. That being said, one of my main flaws with the film is pacing. I think this film is about 20 to 25 minutes too long, and it feels it at times. While most of the sequences in the movie are beautiful, and they're beautiful to look at and marvel at, I do think that we could have trimmed some of them down a little bit to save on time. If this movie was a little tighter, I thought it would have been perfect. And not to say it's not good, because I still really enjoyed the movie, but I do think it suffers from being just a tiny bit too long. Ludwig Göransson is back to do the score for this movie, and it's another home run. The music, the set design, the costumes, the acting, it's all on another level. It's all from a level fully removed from the past couple of films in the MCU, and everyone is firing on all cylinders. Ludwig Göransson is no exception. The music in this film is fantastic. The music of Talocan is brilliant. When we're in that city, is fantastic. The scoring of the different scenes, especially the opening montage, for those of you who have seen it, is really, really well done. But guys, those are my initial thoughts on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. For me, this movie is very, very good. Probably doesn't reach the heights of the first film, but still very, very, very enjoyable for me. If I had to rate it, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars. And you know what? What more could you ask for with all of the hurdles this film had to jump over? It was so good. I can't wait to see it again. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you guys see Black Panther Wakanda Forever? How did you enjoy the film? Let me know. If you're new to the channel and you liked the video, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest content. And until next time, guys, stay versed.